Welcome to the 2026 Dialogue, a masterclass series by the HR Association of India. I am Neha Jagnani, and today we are exploring a theme that sits at the heart of every thriving organization: how to truly put people at the center of everything that we do. Our theme for today is building an employee centric organization: culture, connection, and commitment. To explore this, we are joined by Saba Adil. Saba is the CHRO at Edelweiss Life Insurance, leading people strategy, culture, and employee value proposition aligned to business goals. With over 24 years of experience across HR, customer service, risk, and marketing, she brings a holistic approach to building high performing organizations. She has driven impactful progress in inclusivity, employee experience, productivity, and retention, contributing to organizations' recognition as a great place to work. Previously, she held leadership roles at Raheja QBE, Aegon Life, Avanse, and MGL, and holds a master's in HR along with a certification from Stanford GSB. Thank you so much, Sabah, for joining. It's a pleasure having you.
Thank you so much, Neha. Thank you. Pleasure being here and talking to all of you all.
Thank you. So, looking forward to this exciting masterclass, Sabah. So, to begin with, my first question for you is: many organization talks about employee centricity, but what
Yeah,
does that truly mean in day-to-day decisions and not just in policies?
sure. I think a very good question. And I'll try to put some examples to place here.
Sure.
So for me, it really shows up clearly in how decisions are taken when there is a trade-off. When business urgency meets human reality, who really wins? That balance is where culture truly reveals itself in organizations.
Right.
And I think, when you look at listening mechanisms in organizations, they're really kind of growing in very many ways in terms of surveys, skip levels, open houses. But you'll see the real shift happening when you bring people into the decision making and not only asking for feedback, but involving them in shaping outcomes.
Right.
And that is actually a genuine open door culture where everyone can reach out, speak across levels, share perspectives without filters or hesitation. The accessibility builds trust in ways no policy can do. And when you look at it from a systems perspective, the manager, the reporting manager today remains key and fulcrum to how cultures actually perceived by people in the organization. And so the real question is then, are we investing enough in building managerial and leadership capability depth who can handle nuances, who can lead both with empathy and accountability? And that balance is again very crucial. At the same time, what are you rewarding? Are we truly recognizing outcomes, or are we actually valuing how the outcomes are achieved? Because behaviors is something that always follow how you put your incentives to place, how you put your KPIs to place, etc. Another thing that also goes on to build an employee centric environment is a holistic focus on employees well-being, which no longer today is a side initiative. It's about how work is designed, how sustained performance today is directly linked to how well people are supported. So it's also about the support that you provide to people to place to unleash their potential. Another aspect is also about inclusivity and flexibility, which is like a core philosophy and not just a policy lever that we are an inclusive organization, or we are flexible, but how do you actually live them up?
Sure.
And how work is done, how hybrid cultures are really kind of encouraged, and where everyone feels a part of the system. How do we develop and build diverse thoughts and perspectives? Because that is again important from a perspective of an organization in terms of innovation, or in terms of how work is done, etc. And another aspect is also about how do you then continually evolve from here, because policies cannot be really static. There has to be a rhythm of regular review based on feedback, changing needs of people, because today you have multi-generational workforce that's really existing on. And also not waiting for things to break, but proactively adapting. And the real moment always, I feel, comes in moments of stress, when there is kind of a trade-off that you need to really do on. So employee centricity truly means that, are you really invested in the employee in very many ways, in terms of helping the person really grow, And even before that, how do you even understand that person well? What are their unique needs? What do they bring uniquely to the organization? Are you crafting experiences where people feel that, this is the way we can really grow in the organization, where I can really unleash potential? And do you have a focus in terms of the holistic well-being of people? Because that's again very important as we speak of building an employee-centric workforce.
Sure, sure. Thank you so much.
So
Beautifully
that's
put.
from my end.
Yeah. There is listening, there is involving people into your decisions, there is
Yeah.
accessibility, empathy, accountability, reward mechanism. What are you actually rewarding? Then there's a support, inclusivity. So it boils down to the fact that it's very important to create that ecosystem for people to open up. And lastly, as you rightly mentioned, it's important to understand who the individual is truly before addressing the needs as well. So thank you so much for beautifully putting it across. My next question, Sabha, is you have emphasized that culture is a key differentiator. So, what is that one thing that leaders often get wrong while trying to build a strong culture?
Yeah, see, often culture, when I've seen, gets positioned as something owned by human resources. It's driven through engagement programs, values workshops, or perhaps internal campaigns. But in reality, culture is shaped far more by business decisions than by only HR interventions. Of course, clarity, communication is very, very important. But things like a leader may talk about trust, but still insist on multiple approval layers for simple decisions. These things go on to build culture. They may talk about empowerment, but hesitate to delegate critical responsibilities. People may talk about innovation but penalize failures. So those are places where you will find in terms of really organizations walking the talk on it and taking the business decision, because those are moment of key critical truths that actually go on to define your culture. And also another aspect of pitfall in this is the gap between the stated intent and the lived experience. So, for instance, we articulate, openness as a value. But how do leaders respond when a viewpoint is challenged in a review? Is that really taken as an input and feedback to kind of develop and enhance the organization further? Or is it kind of a brickbat? So we emphasize collaboration as a core value, but recognition growth often favors individual achievement. That's again a kind of, these kind of dilemmas exist. Organization encouraging dialogue and diverse viewpoints, but unless leaders consistently create that psychological safety, especially when feedback is upward, people quickly learn to self-regulate and hold back. So these are some of the points where cultures are really lived through. So and I think what we can do is translate values into observable behaviors, clearly define what they mean in day-to-day decision making, because that's important from a clarity and employee perspective as to what the organization really stands for. Equally important is to really align recognition performance framework not just to outcome but as to how these outcomes are also delivered. And then invest deeply in managerial capability, because cultures experience at that level. See, managers create a lot of cultures that people experience practically every day. And be explicit about what is tolerated, what is not. And when moments of truth come, you really live your values and culture. So these are aspects that go on to build culture beautifully.
Absolutely. I loved how you started by saying that culture actually changed by business decisions and not just HR. The second bigger gap was the gap between the stated intent and the real experience that the employee have. So thank you so much for that. It's a great takeaway there. So Sabha, my next question is, in a hybrid and fast changing work environment, how can organizations build a real sense of connection and belonging among employees?
Yeah, for me, it comes down to a few shifts. First, leadership visibility and accessibility becomes really, really critical, because in a hybrid setup, distance can be very quickly lead to a disconnect. So, leaders have to over communicate, be more present, and create multiple avenues for people to engage directly. Second is you have to design and define those moments of connection deliberately, which otherwise, in a physical seating can just automatically happen because you're just there. And have those connects not only deliberate but also meaningful and not just a checkbox activity. But be present, and this is where I've seen where the good to great difference happens. That in moments of matter for employees, like for example promotions or even failures or personal developments, These are moments where you would like to have a face to face conversation or be really present for the employee to understand, to listen well. The role of manager again becomes even more central. Their ability to stay connected, check in meaningfully, ensure inclusion, especially for those who are remote, has a disproportionate impact.
Right.
Fourth, there has to be a conscious focus on inclusion in experience, because hybrid work environments can create two set of employees, one who are present and the others who are hybrid. So are we ensuring that every voice is really heard? And amidst all this is the key anchor of clarity, because ambiguity can create a lot of disconnection. And I think a lot of clarity, motivation has to be owned by the leader and by the organization to really energize the organization in several many ways and have an inclusive workforce that is really that where every voice is heard and that really goes out to meaningfully impact the organization. So I would say, to summarize it up, that of inclusiveness, ensuring every voice is heard, ensuring clarity of communication, ensuring we're truly present in moments that matter for people,
Sure.
promotions, critical decisions for people. Are we really ensuring that we are fully present and having those conversations truly and fully with people around? So these are the things that really go on to build trust, especially in a hybrid environment.
Sure. So there is leadership, visibility, and accessibility, designing that connection in a meaningful way with people, having those, giving importance to face conversations when the matter is serious, there is promotion, there are failures, critical items to be discussed that makes it more easy for the workforce to collaborate,
Yeah.
conscious focus on inclusivity, and last but not the least, clarity, which is very, very important. My
Yeah.
next question, Sabha, is with your experience across HR and business roles, how do you balance business outcomes with employee experience without compromising either?
Yeah, see, from my experience across both HR and business role, I don't really see this as a balance problem. I see it more like a design and flow issue. In reality, organizations that deliver consistently are the ones where experience is intentionally designed to enable performance. So for me, it begins with non-negotiable clarity or outcomes. What we are trying to achieve by when, and what does success look like really. When that is clear, you eliminate a lot of noise, a lot of duplication and unnecessary pressure that goes alongside. Second lever is also how to get work done. A lot of stress in organization really comes from doesn't really come from hard work only. It comes from poorly designed processes, last minute changes or lack of prioritization. I think people want to really be successful, work hard, deliver. But there are the other nuances, which is like prioritization, other things. That is what organizations really need to do to ensure that clarity of purpose for people. So the focus has to be on building operating discipline, clear priorities, realistic timelines, and fewer but sharper goals. And strongly hold the organization at a higher performance bar, but with fairness and transparency. People are willing to stretch, go the extra mile, but they need to feel that the expectations are consistent, decisions are fair, effort is recognized. That's where experience and performance start reinforcing each other. And from a business lens, it's important to integrate the people metric and the business metric together. And that's where I found really, the good to great organization do that beautifully. If you're only reviewing numbers, you'll drive outcomes at any cost. But if you're also looking at indicators like team stability, engagement, capability, they're again very hard. They go on to really feed on very hard financial numbers. And that is when the entire thing start to make more balanced decisions. So I don't think it's about choosing between a business and people. It's about building operating rigor, leadership capability, decision making discipline so that both move in the same direction. And when that happens, performance doesn't come at the cost of experience. It is only reinforced and strengthened by it.
Sure, sure. Thank you so much. So there is non-negotiable clarity on goals and by when do you want to achieve it, how to get things, how to get work done. There is
Absolutely.
prioritization, and maybe have fewer goals but have sharper goals. And transparency, of course, is another element here. So thank you so much. This brings us to the last question, Sabha, which is if you had to give one clear message to leaders today, what's that one action that they should take to build deeper commitment and emotional connect with their people?
Yeah, I would say be authentic and take real effort to know your people. That's extremely important. Commitment and emotional connect are not built through like large initiatives or policies, they're built through real conversations. It's in the small moments Did you really listen, or were you just responding when you're really talking to people and dealing with people? Did you understand the person behind the role, their motivations, their aspirations, their challenges? Did your actions reflect that understanding? Did you have open, honest conversations? Because one off gestures don't build trust. It's repeated, authentic behavior does. So if I have to just put it and summarize it, every interaction that we have with people is an opportunity to build connection, but only if it is both intentional and personalized and authentic, of course. And leaders who get that right don't have to ask for commitment. They create an environment where it just comes naturally.
Sure, sure. Beautifully
Yeah.
put. There is authenticity and that effort to actually make that connection and feel that person valued and heard. I think that creates a culture where people thrive and truly have a sense of belonging to perform better. So, thank you so much. This brings us to the end of this masterclass, Sabha. Thank you for your insights and experiences. I must say that you have reminded us that building employee-centric organizations actually goes beyond intent. It's about those conscious choices that you make. It's that leadership commitment and actually a deep
Yeah.
commitment that changes the culture where people thrive. So thank you so much for your thoughts today.
Pleasure being here, Neha. It's extremely good and very pertinent and relevant questions in today's date and world.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yes.
Bye.